Good afternoon, everybody. This is the best host from OITVOIP. Welcome to our Partner First webinar. I'm Sean Lardo. Have a great next hour going to happen here, 45, 50 minutes probably actually, focusing on some things that we hear often within the MSP community, which is how to grow the business. So I brought on one of my good friends, and I will introduce her in a second here. Mostly everybody knows. It's good to see that Matt Connolly's on this. He works with us, and he needs to learn how to sell better anyway. So perfect. Thanks, Matt, for showing up. Anyway, so yes, everybody within the OIT family, thank you for being part of this. Looking forward to this Partner First webinar. I'm going to really get into who I'm bringing on here. Before I do, let's talk a little bit about her. She's been in a space in marketing focused for 20 years now, plus probably actually, and hugely focused on marketing. Not just that though, worked as a partner doing this, and then as a vendor. So she's actually been on both sides of the gamut, which is pretty important because it at least gives you her position and understanding where she wants to go and how to talk to the masses. Not to mention, she also has founded and actually CEO of two companies in this time, one being Channel Maven, the other being Spark Your Channel, which we use. But very impressive, and has been doing that for 13 years now between two companies. So without further ado, I do want to bring on my good friend, Heather Margolis. Hello, Heather.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'm winded from talking about you actually at this point.
There's so much.
There is a lot. So thanks for jumping on with us. We have a whole presentation and we're going to teach people things, but I would just like to touch on, how did you go from partner to vendor? What made you make the change?
I was actually an ISV. So I was a vendor who then worked with a much larger vendor, and it was hard. It was really hard navigating their portals and their marketing materials and their events. So it really sort of came down to my next opportunity, and it was inside a vendor, and I felt like I need to make this easier for partners, and thought that I could do it from inside, right? But both were great experiences. They were both really different.
Absolutely. That I can relate. Been on both sides myself, working with and for and against at times. So yeah, so good. So a little bit about Channel Maven would be a good place to start too.
Yeah. So I 13 years ago decided that I was going to help a lot of different vendors better communicate to their partners and help their partners drive more demand. So I started Channel Maven just by myself. I used to joke that many of you business owners will get this, that I felt like I had multiple personalities because I'd always say we, like, yeah, we can get right on that. And we can, and at the end of the day, we was me. But we have grown now to 25 people, and Channel Maven was running itself so well, or I should say my amazing team was running Channel Maven so well that I was able to step away and start Spark.
And Spark's been what, 2 years now in the making, basically?
Yeah, we announced March of 2020, February of 2020, which was interesting timing. I now understand what they mean when they say hindsight's 2020.
Well, I consider to be very fortunate that you did, because we were able to work with you guys. And I would say the impact of COVID stopping everybody from physical interaction, social media, emails, digital in general, digital period, became the primary source of communication, relationship building, everything else. Sure. So I'd say you were kind of,
it messed up the fundraise a little bit, but other than that, you're absolutely right. I feel like we were trying to constantly prove to everybody that video was important and video was the next big thing. And all of a sudden, video was and is proving to be.
Here we are.
Yeah, I mean, you were. Yeah.
And even better yet, like Corey, he's on here watching. Corey was on our first Tech Bar podcast on video. I think he made himself infamous. I would say famous, but infamous, based off of being in his mother's basement doing the show. Anyway, moving on. So we do have stuff to talk about today. We do have actually important information to cover. That's educational. So why don't we, I know you have a presentation. We're going to try, we're going to do our best to run through the slides and with information that's good. If there's anybody has questions, please post it in the chat. If it's a good question, if it's not Keith, I will definitely probably look at it. And we can bring it up as we go.
I will look at it if it's Keith.
Please don't, for the love of God. Okay. So, we're here to talk about ways to, 5 easy ways to increase sales revenue. Again, a very common topic, a very common question we see within the themes of all these MSP groups that we talk about, that I'm involved in. They all ask for who they should work with marketing. They ask what the best practices. They talk about sales. How do you, and there's so many companies out there to do all these things too, that provide help. So I like to keep it basic. So I think this is a good topic.
Yeah. Well, and listen, there are so many more than 5, but I felt like if you can find an extra hour in your week, you'll be able to do these 5 things. So let's jump right into it.
Absolutely.
First, just to sort of talk about what's been going on, sales and marketing made a massive shift even 5 years ago. Forget the last, 18 months or 2 years. 5 years ago, we looked up and went, wait a second, cold calls aren't working by themselves. And if I send an email, it's not actually going to get read if the person doesn't know who I am, or at least I'm not identifying that pain point. So that shift had already sort of happened. And then it shifted even more because we all realized that we weren't getting on planes to go to meetings. We were actually doing things virtually. So except for Sean, he still gets on planes and goes to meetings and posts all about it. But early on you weren't, right?
That's only recently. Hold up. No, it's only recently.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So, I want you all to sort of think about how your own habits have changed. And Sean and I are old, so we can talk about this. If we jump to the next slide, when you used to wake up, you would say good morning to your significant other, go walk the dog, maybe make breakfast, grab the newspaper at the end of your walk and go sit down and start reading. And that's how you got information. Now, you don't even say hello to the warm body next to you. It could be the dog. You just roll over, grab your phone, and I have a process, right? Email, LinkedIn, and then all the other Facebook, Instagram, checking all of those. And then I go read the news. So we as consumers are bombarded by so much information that we as sellers need to make sure that we are A, cutting through the garbage, and B, that we are making sure we don't get deleted the second somebody opens their phone.
Yep. So here's the thing. Can I address something though? So your order, which I think we all become creatures of habit, right? That's for sure. So as creatures of habit, and this will and I swear this is going to have a point to this. I too get up in the morning. When I get up, it is really about a couple things. I check my email, right? But I don't check LinkedIn. I check Facebook. And that's because most of my people that I deal with are on Facebook more than they're on LinkedIn. So and I'm only saying this because isn't one of the things you probably should worry about with noise and communicating the right venue, the right vessel? Does that make sense?
Without a doubt, 100%. I feel like, to your point, your partners, your customers are probably more so on Facebook. I know Keith is. So it's important to make sure that you are where your audience is. And when I say audience, I mean partners, customers, prospects, former customers that maybe aren't as tuned in anymore, and you need to sort of bring them back into the fold. But for me, who is selling to larger IT companies, I go right to LinkedIn. But you are absolutely right. For probably the one time this webinar, I feel like it's not Tech Bar, so I can't make fun of you.
Can you? No, you can. Well, no, just no. Say again. I'm right. Can you just say that again? Just one more time.
Yeah.
Simon,
have we met our little friend?
No, that's so.
This is my friend Sean.
That's first off. His beard is too dark. I'm not, and we have the same hairstyle. You're right, but that's it. Anyway, moving on. Let's leave Sean.
So when you think about how you're going to communicate to your audience, again, could be partners, could be customers, could be prospects, keep in mind 50% of the world's population is under 30 years old. So, we all used to talk about for years, we'd be like, oh, those millennials and the millennials and the millennials. Guess what? Millennials just turned 40 this year. So the first year of that generation is 40. These are not people right out of school or entry level. These are people that you're probably selling to. They have been on the internet their entire lives. And they have been, in some way, shape, or form, they have been absorbing digital advertising, digital marketing, what have you. So you need to sort of think about, is picking up the phone and calling someone going to work who's never heard of you? Probably not. Social influence is 93% of buying decisions. And then humans have the attention span of about 7 seconds. A goldfish has the attention span of 8 seconds. So I would like to say it's not because we are as bright as a goldfish. It's because we are bombarded with information, and all a goldfish worries about is what they can see out of their two beady eyeballs. But it means that if you're trying to build up some big story, or you're trying to say, like, if your website starts with founded in 1982, like, that's not making an impact anymore. People need to know that you know how to solve their pain points immediately.
So, you know what? Let's talk about that 93% of buying decisions are social influenced. Coming back to your first check is LinkedIn. Mine is Facebook. Then I go to LinkedIn, and
Yeah.
So, and combine that with the fact that attention span 7 seconds. So, what's your content look like then? How should you really do this?
Yeah, it's everything needs to have a picture or video so that people see that preview. I think it's so funny when people post those Facebook posts like, I'm trying to prove that people like me and people will read my content. So I'm posting this without a picture. And if you see it, please like it. No, you should post it with a picture. That's ridiculous. Stop wasting my time.
Well, we got
and also,
or like Matt says, memes. I agree. Memes are nice.
Yeah, for sure. We call that micro content. So someone like Matt who needs to get the information immediately and then move on to the next thing. Short attention span, it's memes. Yeah, memes or even micro videos. So, as you scroll through like Instagram or even now TikTok, if you're on there, and even now Facebook has these stories, you can scroll through them really quickly and stop when something piques your interest. So yes, sure. You're really trying to get in front of people. If you're trying to be a little more formal, a little more businessy, just make sure the first line of any post grabs someone right away, that they know it's for them. I always call it the pharmaceutical, whether it's an email or a post or whatever, the pharmaceutical commercial. Do you struggle with itchy, dry eyes? Have you tried Allegra in the past? Now you should try Claritin. That's what you should be getting to. Like, Are you concerned that your team is not reachable by phone if something were to happen? Yes.
I love that. I love that, but I like the end of the commercials better.
Point right away.
But I like the end of the commercial, the side effects. They talk about that, and it's like, oh my God, if you take this medication, you're gonna die, but you're not gonna have allergies anymore.
Right.
Up until you die.
You won't sneeze, but no one will want to be around you because you'll have really bad.
And you'll be dead. So it doesn't matter. It's the end. Yeah, no, but you'll have no allergies for the next 24 hours until that minute happens.
You're all good. So let's talk about those 5 things. The first is to engage on social, which, Sean has told us he goes Facebook first. I go LinkedIn first. Some people go TikTok first. We probably aren't talking to any of them right now, but that's okay. So let's talk about engaging on social. I really want you to think about, as Sean said, hey, let's hit the next slide. As Sean said, I really think it's up to you to figure out where your audience is. Mine's on LinkedIn. So I every morning go in and see what my LinkedIn network is up to. I wish people happy birthday. I congratulate them on work anniversaries and new jobs. This makes it so that I'm engaging them on such a regular basis that when I am trying to sell to them, it feels a little bit more natural. It doesn't feel like, oh, I haven't heard from Heather in 2 years and all of a sudden she's like asking to meet with me. If we go to the next slide, if you decide that Facebook and, it's somebody's birthday. Happy birthday, Drew. If you find that Facebook and Twitter are more
I'm
your...
the MC. Let's clarify our rules here. I'm the MC. You're the presenter.
Should I shut off the comments because I'm definitely watching them? I see I'm getting yelled at.
Yeah. Happy birthday,
okay.
Drew. Now you can say it now because you have a banner there for him.
Happy birthday, Drew.
Happy birthday, Drew. Now moving on.
Okay. So if you decide that Facebook or Twitter or even Instagram are more your speed, figure out what groups you should join. We all love everything MSP. We like modern MSP. Like there are just ways that you can engage with your peers and get more information, but then also figure out where your prospects are hanging out so that you're joining their groups and their conversations as well. I have a very funny TikTok story now that we're not, or Instagram story now that we're not talking about Instagram, and I don't have any with me. My husband owns a chocolate company, and they have energy chocolate, they have calm chocolate, they have sleep chocolate. Tracy Ellis Ross, who's a comedian, she's the mom in Blackish, took a video of herself, like she stuck her phone in the refrigerator, she reached into the refrigerator, grabbed the box of Good Day chocolate, opened it, popped a piece, and was like, I don't eat chocolate, and like threw it back in and closed the door. It was pretty hilarious. I don't suggest you do things like that, but do things that are relatable. Have conversations with people. If somebody's asking you a question on a regular basis, that's a question you can then answer on video.
Well, since you said happy birthday to Drew,
can we talk about LinkedIn canned messages?
Yeah.
Yes, it's Drew's birthday. We got to answer his question. So, right. Yeah, I totally agree. We don't set up any sort of canned interactions. I also, if I accept someone's connection and they immediately send me we design websites and here are some examples and we only charge $22 an hour, and blah, blah, blah. Like I'll take the time. You're talking to somebody who doesn't like unsubscribe from emails, hasn't unsubscribed from emails in almost 20 years. I will take the time to go disconnect from somebody in LinkedIn if they send me a sales message. So if we now go to that one, the other thing is responding to interactions. So, we talked about seeing what your audience is up to, posting content. We'll talk a little bit more about posting content in a second, but I also want you to go in on a daily basis and respond to interactions. So if somebody comments on a post, if somebody likes your post, if they comment, I always comment back. I always say, thanks so much, or, whatever makes sense as a response. But then I also look at the people who have just liked it, right? They didn't comment, they didn't take the time to do that. But if they're a prospect of mine, I will go into my messages. And again, you can do this on Facebook or LinkedIn or even Twitter. I'll go into my messages and say, thanks so much for liking my article. I hope you found it helpful. It's been a while. How are you? Or something to that effect. So I said, if you have an hour a week, you can do a lot more on a lot more of these things. I probably spend about 3 hours a week on my social, just as a prospecting versus like posting pictures of my really cute kids. So the next one we're going to talk about, Sean, anything you would add to that?
Yeah, that's really nice. You let me be involved in the conversation. I appreciate that. I was actually, as you were saying that, I hopped on my phone and to take a look at like my interactions here, because so for instance, if you don't know Jay Tipton, he might be watching, he was supposed to, but who knows, he has meetings on top of meetings. He had made a joke because I'll be going to the ASCII event in 2 weeks. And he said he'll be there to pick me up. He had a funny, like a picture of somebody holding a sign saying he's coming to get me, whatever. And that proceeded to turn into everybody and their mother basically commenting, because now there's just a running joke with Jay about scheduling meetings. So yeah, it went into this. And right now we're at about 45 different interactions basically for one post. And all it was him joking around. He's going to pick me up from the airport to take me into the ASCII event. And it's not even, I'm not
Yeah.
selling you anything. I'm just interacting and just being friends, because we're supposed to all be friends first.
Well, and it's not even supposed to. Like, I genuinely enjoy the conversations and the interaction that I have with the people on social.
Absolutely.
It's, for me, it's not always about selling, but that comes out of it. And when I am really trying to focus and sell something, I just launched Spark in the middle of the pandemic. I reached out to all of my contacts who would be prospects and said, listen, I really need feedback. Like, we didn't get as much funding as we were supposed to. We're kind of in the dark here. Can you just take a look and tell me if you would ever pay for this? And we sold a lot of implementations that way because the feedback was great. We acted on it, and then they purchased. So
That's awesome.
now, yes. So the next thing is to listen for buying signals. And, to Sean's point, a lot of our posts are just about being friends and make 99.999% are about making fun of Sean. But really, we're trying to just, also enjoy the interaction and the friendship. But it never hurts to sort of listen for things like, hey, has anyone out there ever implemented X? Has anyone out there ever used account-based marketing? Something where you're the expert. It's awesome for you to jump into that conversation. Sean, are you laughing because you don't really have an expertise, or did somebody comment something that I'm now not looking at?
There you
so
go.
then yes.
And do I have an expertise? That's subjective. My expertise.
You do. I just like making fun of you. The other thing is you putting questions out there that are prospecting, but other people don't. Like, has anyone ever implemented X? Or we just did a really cool project with a nonprofit. If anybody has any questions, let me know. Little things like that, putting polls out there that just sort of make people think more about what it is that you do. There are times that you could post something like, we just did this great implementation with OITVOIP, and someone could say, oh, I didn't know you worked with them. We're actually looking at them. Let's have a conversation. And also ask questions about the solutions that you provide. Ask questions about the pain points that you solve. Sean, do you ever listen for buying signals? Do you have other examples?
On a regular basis? Well, okay, so there's a difference between, so we're all clear, buying signals on a social platform that's public and general conversations, and then a conversation where you're actually doing a discovery to a pitch. There's a big difference in the two. I think we should definitely acknowledge that. I would say buying signals that we see them all the time for us, because within the groups that I'm in, within the MSP groups, I mean, just before this call, there was a gentleman on their MSP that was asking about who he should work with. And a lot of our partners are freaking awesome, by the way. Even Keith actually helped with one, and they are our champions, and they recommend us. So a buying signal flat out is, to me, first off, if they're asking specifically, hey, I'm looking to find a vendor, that's easy. We know that part, right? But two is people ask just inquiring questions, like when we see a lot of times in our space that they'll say, is it possible to do a setup that does A, B, and C, whatever that is? When they're asking that question, chances are they're not doing really well with their current provider, and their provider said it couldn't happen. So right then and there, if you can become a thought leader and help them, just give them, hey, yeah, it is possible. You just might want to take a look at this, which I'm not going to hear the end of this part where I say this, but I will give Ray Orsini mad credit for that, because he constantly provides quality information on stuff that's not even related to us. And when somebody is related to us, he also will provide good information without ever pitching us ever, and just being a helpful advisor, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to always be giving away free consulting, because when it comes down to it, that person will always remember what you did for them and come back to you. There's a woman who I've known since 2006, And she always comes to me for advice, and I always give it, and I'm happy to. I'm happy to jump on a call. I'm happy to give advice via email. She's changed jobs probably 5 times since I met her in 2006. She just changed jobs again and finally has budget. And we are doing a ton of work together on the channel Maven side of the house. So, I think not only that, but like, don't you feel better about yourself as a person when you can give? Actually, this right here, the minute you learn to give is the minute you become successful. I fully believe that. So give away that free consulting. You'll feel better about yourself. Don't let people take advantage of you. I remember, I think it was Jay posted into Everything MSP about somebody constantly calling them. Don't let them take advantage of you. But but a 20-minute conversation.
That started everything on Jay Tipton, by the way, because then I just said, I'm going to schedule a call for that meeting. And he's like, okay. And then it just got worse and worse and worse.
Snowball. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Well, isn't that back to eliminating noise too?
And yeah. And to answer your question, The Rose, as long as your audience knows who you are when you call yourself The Rose, yes. So very quick story. There's a reason I always use my middle initial K. Sean, do you know the story?
I've heard it a time or two. Yes.
Yeah. So back in the day when I first got married in 2006, if you searched Heather Margolis, you got Cindy Margolis, and I'll just leave it at that. Okay. Number 3, be the video rock star that you are. So all of you have personalities. I've met most of you. It's so incredibly important that you are more face-to-face with your prospects. And what better way to do that than to post on LinkedIn? So let's go, or Facebook, or whatever platform you decide is your primary. Let's go to the next slide. This is a series of videos that I did teaching people how to do videos. So this is me basically saying, if you don't have, lights like I do, like I'm totally giving it away right here, although I'm sure you could see that from the shadow. Then sitting in front of an open window that doesn't have direct sunlight is a great way. Anyhow, I'm sharing how to do more professional videos with my audience openly. I'm not charging anyone for this information. I'm not putting a gate in front of anything, but people tune in quickly because I'm using hashtags. I have video that I've posted, but I'm also sharing relevant information. So when you're doing video, think of the last 3 questions you got that you could answer inside 2 to 3 minutes. Use your smartphone, make it short, sweet, and to the point. If it's more than 3 minutes, don't bother. And then lighting, think about, like I said, being in front of a open window or using some lights. Ring lights now, I think, are $25 on Amazon. And then also audio. You've probably seen me struggling with my AirPods because they've decided to start popping out of my head today. But wireless AirPods or wireless earphones or just regular earphones, so that your audio is crisp and you don't hear any fans blowing or any traffic. And then answer questions that you always get asked. So think about how people think of you already. Also think about questions you're not getting that you wish you would. So if there's a solution you sell that people don't know that you sell, answer a question about that so that they understand that you sell that a little bit more. And pants are optional, Keith. So, I prefer that I know that you're wearing pants.
I agree. And even about creating a video, the video content. Is there any specific, I see, lighting and audio, short, sweet, to the point, whatever. Something we see a lot of is people, I remember in the early days of COVID, I was on a call. It was a webinar with 5 different people talking, like a panel discussion. And the guy was in his bedroom with his laundry basket and on the bed behind him. So in the early days, we didn't think about this, right? Because we weren't really accustomed to working from home. So meaning like Ray, myself, even Sam with his pink walls, we made it a point to make sure that we addressed the background to at least fit somewhere. It's a fact that we're all working from home. We know that, right? So it's not like you're hiding that. It's not like back to that guy that was on the news doing the report and his kid came through the door in the chair, and then
Right.
his wife or nanny, whoever it was, came and grabbed the baby, and
It
that
was
was
his
different.
wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, first of all, I'm actually back in my downtown Boulder office, but I'm the only one here. So that's okay. I think there's a reason I'm backed up against a corner, right? Like my office, there's a conference table, there's a couch. It's not that it's messy, but it's lived in. And I don't feel like it's what I want everyone to be seeing. So yeah, I mean, think about your background tremendously. Before this desk, before I was on video in here, this desk faced out the window. But I don't want people to see what's behind me. So definitely think about what's behind you. I have another one of these types of posters, but there's an F-bomb in it. So we had to take that down off the wall at home and put that somewhere else so that people weren't seeing that. So yeah, think about your background, make sure it's professional. I don't think people mind the kids or the dogs roaming in, but make sure it's not messy. Make sure people are focusing on you, not on what's behind you.
Sure, absolutely. No, and I think it just adds the human element, but that's about the end of it. And only because we're home.
Right.
So right now so and these videos, when you do them, you said you're using proper hashtags. How do you determine hashtags?
Well, a lot of times where you are posting is allowing you to use to auto-populate hashtags based upon what they think you. So like LinkedIn, for instance, if I did a diversity post, they would immediately pick up on that word and use that as a hashtag. I think tagging people that are involved in the post somehow is great. When you tag people just to say, hey, what do you think? Just because you want it on their timeline as well, maybe do that every once in a great while. But when you're tagging like 30 people just to get it in their timeline, I think LinkedIn, actually, their algorithm notices that and they will keep that post live for less time. So using hashtags is great. You might want to put them out of the way. So make the post, put 2 or 3 hashtags, like you'll see here, I have 4, and then put a bunch of space, and then you can put a bunch more hashtags below that. The other thing to think about, if we go to the next slide, some of you are like, I don't want to do video. I don't want to be, nobody cares what you look like. Nobody cares that you're wearing a baseball cap. Nobody cares that you need a beard trim. But 76% of marketers plan to increase their use of video, which means your competitors are potentially using more video. So your audience is getting more and more used to seeing video. We've actually, on the channel Maven side, we've stopped doing video for blog posts, or excuse me, we've stopped doing just the straight blog post. So we still do the blog post because that's important for SEO and optimization capabilities. But we also add a video where I'm basically summarizing the blog post, because nobody actually wants to read anymore. They just want to watch a quick video and move on with their life. 92% of buyers expect you as a salesperson to add some form of thought leadership. So if you're like, here, buy the solution, and they say no, and you say, okay, you haven't built your reputation. So first, building your reputation, posting videos, talking about how you've solved pain points, maybe even in different industries, that's going to make you more of a thought leader, which will make your prospects tune in a bit more. And then video actually also boosts click-through rates. So if some of you email, if you have a newsletter or what have you, if they open it and there's a video in the beginning, people will actually click through more. And then it also reduces unsubscribes if it's your face, because they feel like they know you and they don't. Who would unsubscribe from Keith? No one. That is all.
No. Moving on. Yeah. So that's actually good. Before we move on though, so does it matter when you're talking about putting videos in the first section of any email content, or is there preferable ones? So like, would a newsletter be a good idea to have the video, but regular MQL campaigns, maybe not? Is there a preference?
So I would say in a newsletter, definitely. In a like one-off email, you could link to a video, but I find when I see that somebody has put like a vidyard or something at the base of the email, I know that they're already trying to sell to me, so I immediately delete that. But if if they've intrigued me with the first line of their email and they have hyperlinked from different bullets, let's say, inside their email to content that happens to be a video, then I would definitely tune in.
Okay, that's fair. I couldn't disagree.
Yeah. Number 4, second to last one, get those questions ready. Post. It's like location, location, location. It's really important that you're posting on a regular basis, and we can actually jump to the next one. There are different things to take note of when you're posting. Post publicly and post regularly. So if you post once every 6 months, your audience is going to be like, oh, look, there's that person again. I haven't heard from them in a really long time. I have no idea what they're talking about. Also, if you restrict it to just your audience, you're not going to be able to gain more exposure from people who may not be your audience. So here you see 3 posts all the way to the left. This was a post I did privately. It's about someone else. It's about a piece of content someone else created. It's super interesting. This is a report that Jay McBain does once a year, but it's not necessarily something that's specifically tied to me. Spark was in their infrastructure stack the last 2 years, but it's not specifically tied to me. I did it privately because I felt like a lot of other people were also seeing Jay's post from other companies posting it. I only got just under 900 views of this post. Keep in mind, at the time I had 8,000 contacts. Now I have just over 10. So that's, about 10% of my audience. The next post is about me. So I'm on this webinar with 5 other people. It's sort of a generic picture, right? Like anytime there's a webinar, this is the picture you're seeing. That had just under 2,500. So a little bit more, and all the same time frame. I did about 48 hours after each post. The last post is very personal. It was my New Year's post. It was can we please tell 2020 to go, take a long walk off a short pier? And just my reflection on what the year had been. And I posted a picture that's kind of hilarious, right? Like what am I doing sitting on a disco ball? This was part of a more professional shoot that I had done. And they were like, "Ooh, we have disco balls. You should sit on them." So it was a funny picture. It stopped people in their tracks. The content itself was very heartfelt. I had 16,000 views of this, which means at the time I only had 8,000 contacts. I didn't know half of the people who were viewing this. I didn't know a lot of the people that were commenting or reacting to it. So it built my audience a bit more and it got more exposure. So I don't think we should be super personal all the time on LinkedIn, especially. But I think it's good to be authentic and honest. And if you never ever watch webinars like the one you're on, you could still react to them so that people are seeing it a bit more. And yes, it's really important to make sure you're posting regularly so that people don't feel like I never hear from this person and all of a sudden I see them. Anything you would say to that, Sean?
I just like the fact that you did 3. I mean, looking at your post, it's 3 different posts about 3 different positioning pieces. You shared somebody else's stuff, which, you said you're in this because your company's in there, but you just shared it because it was written up and you get, so you're, by the way, guys, that gives you the ability to be part of their network. When you share them, right. They see you, they start being, everybody loves, we're all here to collaborate and to cross-pollinate as best we can. So it's kind of important that you have to do this. Right. The second one, your second post was you acknowledging you and doing some stuff. So it's about you specifically. And then third was, it's the personal one. You're reflecting on the year, but you said something that everybody was thinking anyway in general, like 2020 can go away quickly. And you have your reasons. So I think that I appreciate all that. And how many views did you say you had on each one?
You're asking me to put my glasses on. So it's circled 800 and something.
Yeah, I can't see
2,000 and something, 16,000 and something. You're funny.
Can you give me a specific?
He knows my glasses are sitting on my desk.
Can you please give us specifics out there? People really need to know this, because it's a lot of large numbers.
Simon, go to the next one. Go to the next one. It's a good thing I do these slides so I know what's on them, but I can't actually see them. So which platform works best for your audience? We've covered this and covered this. I feel like we are beating the dead horse with a bat. But really take a look at your audience and then also think about maybe posting on all of them, maybe not. So here you see my LinkedIn. This is definitely where I do most of my business. I do go onto Facebook to interact with people a bit more. So you'll see the Everything MSP call that a bunch of us were on yesterday. But then for me, my Instagram tends to be more personal. So you see pictures of my kids and family and whatnot. So I'm not using Instagram for business. We do have a business account for Instagram. And then TikTok, I'm totally just a voyeur. Like, I don't even have an account. I don't even think I have a headshot, but I think little dogs are really cute. And somehow I end up seeing dancing carpenters as well. So who knows? But Sean, how about you? Like, what are your top three?
So my top three social and where to post, mostly Facebook. And which was a switch, by the way, because when I was in corporate America and I was doing enterprise, it was all LinkedIn, right? It was always all LinkedIn. But since then, top platforms even, and for us, we set the bar at, we would have 30 pieces of video content every quarter, regardless if not more. So YouTube is a big part for us too. It's humongous for us. Not that I'm actively posting personally, but the company at large is, which I create content like this for YouTube. But my number one is Facebook, and it used to be all personal for me, and I made the switch. I mean, I still have personal, like you see pictures of my kids and my granddaughters and everything else. I mean, because I'm human, but at the end of the day, I use it for every group that I'm involved with to be actively engaged and shoulder to shoulder with them. The other thing, and actually, so if I look at it in order, it's definitely Facebook and then LinkedIn. YouTube is a byproduct because we're doing the video content.
Right.
But that's my,
what's not there and what we didn't talk about, which is really interesting, because 3 years ago, it would have been the second on my list, is Twitter. Like, we don't really, Twitter for me is a way to find information. So I'll read other stories. I'm posting on there as an extension of LinkedIn. So when I post on LinkedIn, it automatically goes to Twitter, but we're not really like, oh, we got to get our Twitter posts out this week. So someone asked a great question. Oh, it was Matt Connolly. Good. I'm impressed. Do you have a minimum or maximum? Oh, sorry.
No, good. You're good. No, Simon was trying to share what's out. We're good. Go. Keep going.
All good. So yes, I would say so it depends on the platform. LinkedIn, I do about 3 times a week. Facebook, I do as it comes up, but I try to keep it to under 4. I try not to post more than 4 times. And by the way, I've segmented my audience a bit. So there are times where I'll post just to my close contacts, not my acquaintances, more personal stuff. And then if I decide to post something like, that I was on this webinar, I'll do that publicly. So then Twitter, I tweet out personally once a week.
Jesus, I feel like you could do that like 100 times a day and still get
no. Well, that's what I was going to say. On our corporate handle, though, we're posting about twice a day on Twitter. And yes, you can totally have a full-fledged conversation on Twitter. And then Instagram, I just do it as it makes sense. It's not, it's not a big deal.
Would you an important note that people should understand is that if you post right and you engage, it's a personal post, or it's not a personal, but it's the person posting, not the company, so to speak. And the conversation ensues usually because of it being a person that's posting.
Yes.
Or responding.
Yes. 100%. So we still have our corporate accounts and we still post content out there so that if someone's looking at us, they'll see what we're about and how we share information and how we're helpful. But yes, no one's interacting with our corporate accounts at all. It's not like when you would complain about an airline and you'd have that airline, you would say at airline name.
Right.
I can't believe I got this horrible seat. But at least we're monitoring and making sure that people aren't saying negative things about us or our company.
Sure. So you're social listening.
Yeah. And I would also say too, those of you that are more regional, that like work with mom and pops, check on your Google listing. And if you have a Yelp listing, check those sorts of things to make sure people aren't saying anything negative. A friend of mine owns a little shop here, and someone had said something negative, and it went for months, and she never responded to it because she didn't know that her Google account was so active.
Yeah, that's actually, I saw a news report is over in Australia, this wedding planner, really successful one for a while. And somebody asked for a review on her. They were just on social saying, hey, how well are they? Has anybody ever used them? And some random woman was like, they're the worst. They ruined my wedding day, blah, blah, blah. And it had such a huge effect. And it come to find out the woman was never even a customer of the wedding planner. And so the wedding planner actually sued her. And she's paying back like $50,000 or $60,000 that she has to pay in just fines.
Damages.
Yeah. And so, and again, and we look at it all the time. I mean, we're on social every day, and we can see what people have to say about us, and we can see who has anything to say that's negative. Right. Even about our competitors too. The one thing is, and that's probably a really big piece that I think we should at least address, is social posts should never be condemning competitors either.
I agree. And in fact, I recently had a negative experience on a VRBO that we got 4th of July. And they kept emailing, asking us to post on a comment on the VRBO website, or Verbo. And they finally called and said, hey, they're a property management company. We really want you to post. I said, I didn't have a great experience, but I don't want to post a negative thing on your post, because some people might think it was fine. So I think it's important. Everyone has had a really hard time. Unless you think that there is a way in which a company has wronged you, I would be very hesitant. I have a lot of friends who own restaurants, and things are so tumultuous right now for everybody. Like, just, put more positivity out there, not more negativity. But so Keith asked a great question. Should I post more? I think it depends what your goal is, right? Keith, it sounds like you're, rocking a pretty great lifestyle company. If you one day said, Heather, I want to double my business, then yeah, you should probably post more. You should definitely post about how awesome OIT is. But I think it depends what your goals are, right? If you're trying to grow your business, yes, you should be posting more, and they should be strategically outlined and probably some sort of a calendar. If you're not, then don't worry about it.
So, and actually, this is a good question. I want to just, everybody's going to say, yeah, that sounds great, Heather, but it's a lot of time, and I don't have time. Is there a way to simplify this? Is there, is there anything you can do, or what process, or anything? Just.
Yeah. So for me, I block time in my calendar. If I feel like I haven't been getting to my socials, or I feel like it's not awesome for productivity, but I do tend to bounce around the socials and my email throughout the day. But if I'm trying to focus on a specific project for a little bit, or I've been on the road, I will block an hour of time and just work on social, go through, see what's going on. I also have a bunch of alerts. So I have certain people that I have alerts tied to. And then I also have certain topics that I have alerts tied to. So I'll get like so-and-so mentioned you in their comment on LinkedIn or Facebook, and I'll go check out what that was. But then I also schedule time for myself to be posting.
Absolutely. Okay. So we have like 5 or 6 minutes. We have 4 minutes left here. So anybody have questions?
2 more slides. Oh no, 2
yeah.
more slides. Keep going. The last one's reach out and touch someone.
Matt Solomon, real quick, by the way.
Do I have a post that I thought was doing well that fell flat? I don't know. The one that I posted this morning with our promo video, did that fall flat? I don't try to be funny, Matt. I just am. I think it's one of those things where you have to be yourself. Like if you're I once had a client who was super dry, and he tried being funny on social. And it was like, anyone who knows you knows that you're not this funny. So just be yourself.
I agree. But hey, moving on.
Okay. The next thing, which has nothing to do with social, is go back through your client list and reach out, pick up the phone and call them. Anyone who is over 40 knows this commercial. Remember this one? He was in college and he called his mom and he could tell that the dog had to get let out. Anyway, it was the reach out and touch someone commercial. So by the way, thank goodness we don't have those phones anymore and we have OIT VoIP for us. Right? It's so important that you keep in touch with your old clients. You are 70% more likely to sell to an old client than you are to a net new client. So think about that. For years, Channel Maven, we only did work with about 30 or 40 clients. Now we're over 100, but it was just going back to those 30 or 40 clients and trying to get them to re-engage. It's also easier because you don't have to do my name is Heather and I do this, right? Like they already know who you are. Make a list, check it twice, and then go through an email or call everyone. Another great thing about LinkedIn is the second somebody changes jobs, they change their LinkedIn. So if you are finding that your emails are getting bounced back to you, go into LinkedIn and see where they are, and then just message them on LinkedIn and ask for their email. You can also, current clients, hey, just checking in to see how we're doing. Oh, and by the way, we have this new solution that I want to tell you more about. Don't be salesy. Like, I appreciate when someone is honest that they're trying to sell me something, but I don't want them being salesy and trying to like make it, I just got an email that was like, hey there, I'm thinking we can partner and there are some ways that we could help each other, making me think that it was a sales opportunity for me when in fact they're trying to sell me something.
Yeah, I had that up for a minute because I thought like you should know, Simon, you have another, maybe you should talk to Heather after this, dude. So you can,
get right. I'll get right on that, Rose. So then another thing you can think about is offering them like a free assessment. Hey, we have this new solution. It's going to save you so much money. Let us do a free assessment. Yes, it's time. Again, give away free consulting. But I think it's a great way to get in front of people again and a little more exposure.
Absolutely. I'm looking at
and that's it.
So that's it. Next slide. 4,993. The end. So again, thank you, Heather, for that. We do have some upcoming announcements. We'll do real quick. We have like a minute. Somehow we made this happen. I don't know how.
Because I'm awesome.
I'm right. That's what I was thinking. Because you're awesome. You are so awesome. Thank you. Seriously. I hope people receive some quality information out of this because there was a lot there. I know there's a lot to digest. If there's any takeaways anybody wants to ever know about or things I thought about in general, was a takeaway would be come up with a plan. Make sure you just actively do it, regardless of whatever it is. Stay engaged with other people. Anyway, upcoming events. So actually, Ray and Simon will be there. We're hosting the Cisco Elevate Tech Bar Happy Hour. So you guys need to come and watch.
I'm there too, just not at the bar.
That's not true. She'll be at the bar. Yes, Heather is speaking for that. Yes, she's talking about things she's really good at, which is jokes. Then we have Partner First webinar on the 16th at 1 p.m. That's cyber insurance, new underwriting that impacts MSP services. It's kind of a big deal. Yeah, Keith, you can join. Then we have me and Simon in person at ASCII in New York, New Jersey, whatever they're calling it these days. So if anybody's going to be in Whippany, New Jersey, by all means, let's come see us. And besides that, ASCII is a pretty good event. Tons of information there. Then we got Partner First, phishing is your business, prepared for the next big attack. Well, I think that's a pretty hot topic considering it seems like everybody and their mother's being attacked. So that's on the 29th. And then we're going to have Rob Ray from Datto on the 30th. That was a reschedule that was supposed to be yesterday. So or today. It's supposed to be today. Rescheduled until the 30th. So again, back to having content, constant content. There's a bunch of content for you guys. So we are eating our own dog food. But again, Heather, thanks for being part of this.
Thanks for having me.
OIT family, thank you. And we have nothing else to say for today. Peace out.